AMD's secret CPU launch and why they won't give us more 3D V cache. Thermaltake decides that beautiful colors are in, and RX 9070 was benchmarked, and we maybe have a release date. It's a pretty big deal. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news that I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Thursday, January 9th, 2025. I just wanna say thank you to everybody who's been watching our CES content. I am back home. I did not stay for much of the show. We just had some sponsor obligations that will be coming out later on this week. We covered it for that reason, and I just wanted to get back home to be with my family, and that's what I did, so I'm here now. And just a reminder, we are still giving away that 14900KF RTX 4090 PC over on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/UFD Tech. Love to have you over there. But what I would also love to have is new CPUs coming out from AMD. They secret launched a new CPU at CES. Didn't really tell anybody about it, just kind of put it in a press release, and that is the Ryzen 5 9600, the most affordable Ryzen 5 that should be out on the market for the 9000 series. So 6 cores, it's gonna have a 5.2 gigahertz boost clock speed, slightly slower than the 9600X, which has a 5.4 gigahertz. It's the non-X variant. It's roughly the same. It should theoretically come in at around $200. The MSRP of the 9600X was $280. It kind of goes for sale right now around $249. So maybe we might see the 9600 coming in that $229 price region. But it's good to see that AMD is continuing to at least bring out lower cost versions of the most up-to-date architecture for their CPUs. And fun fact, the 9600 brings back the Wraith stealth cooler in case you wanted one of those. And fun fact, you want to put an AMD CPU in your next PC, you should definitely check out today's video sponsor, Falcon Northwest, because they want to make sure that every PC they sell is catered to the customer's desires and needs, whether that's from the specifications of the PC parts that you want to the actual design on the chassis they're able to print on that. They've given me a lovely Reece face that I get to walk by every single time that I want to game, and they can do that for you too. We've also gotten custom liveries on some of our giveaway prizes that Falcon Northwest has sponsored in the past. But speaking of the past, Falcon Northwest has been around for quite some time. Over 3 decades at this point, they've been in business. And in fact, one of the most impressive things that I saw just randomly scrolling on Reddit was over on the SFFPC subreddit with somebody saying, "My forgotten 20-year-old frag box still turns on," posting pictures of Falcon Northwest's frag box from 2 decades ago. And it's incredible to see that a lot of the design philosophy that Falcon Northwest put into the frag box way back when still carries over to the frag box today. I love the viewing port on the side. I love the blue LED. All of this screams old tech, and they did indeed show that they got it running. It's working. And people even said this was the PC that piqued my interest in SFF PCs at a young age. So they have the frag box, which has the handle, had it back then 20 years ago, has it now, taking it to lands. It's great. They also have a smaller version known as the Tiki, which, in case you're wondering how much hardware can that fit, over on Falcon Northwest configurator for the Tiki, they're showing that the 5090 can go in it. So if you're looking for a brand new GPU, the 5090 being 2 slot looks like it could fit into new places. They also have the Talon, which is the PC that I personally game on, which is a more standard mid-tower. They additionally have workstations in case you're a professional. The Threadripper workstation that they have was voted one of PC Mag's best of 2024. But not only does Falcon Northwest prioritize giving you what you want, designing chassis that are timeless at this point, but also customer service. 3-year warranty on their PCs, 1 year of overnight shipping in case there's an issue that they can't diagnose over the phone, over email, trying to help you out. They'll overnight ship it back to them, fix it, and then ship it back to you overnight again so that you're not having any downtime with your PC. And in case you want some uptime with the RTX 50 series, any of the new parts that have been launched, Falcon Northwest is sticking them into their PCs, the Talon, the Tiki, the frag box, or their workstations. You can check them out at the link in the video description. Big thanks to Falcon Northwest for sponsoring today's video. And I'm just curious, Falcon Northwest, maybe we could see a SteamOS system one day, a little handheld from them. Maybe I'd love to see that. But Microsoft, when it comes to the handheld situation, they're obviously in a nice back and forth going on with Nintendo as well as Valve when it comes to the Steam Deck, and Microsoft's doubling down that they know what they're doing. Windows is not a hindrance when it comes to handheld gaming, and in fact, they're gonna fuse it with Xbox. And so allegedly the future of gaming handhelds, at least on the Windows side, is going to be that fusion of having an operating system that is more handheld friendly. And allegedly, there's going to be some sort of fusion changing that's happening in 2025 for Microsoft to take this, which I think is going to be necessary, especially with Valve announcing SteamOS coming to more devices as of April, May of this year, being able to put that on whatever you want. And then if Microsoft is in its current state, I can see more and more people choosing to opt for something like the Legion OS or the Steam Deck, especially since it's getting support for things like GeForce Now and other third-party stuff is definitely being added to it. And Corsair is adding to their portfolio of things that they want to have you just display colors, RGB, all of that kind of stuff. Over at CES, they announced a new 14-inch screen that goes directly on your desk or in your case potentially. So this is known as the Xeneon Edge, which Xeneon is their monitor lineup. It's 14.5 inches wide landscape display, and they have some cases where you can mount it underneath. But one of the cool things that they're announcing with this is that the 2560 by 720 resolution display with 5-point touch also can be attached to your case as long as it supports a 360 millimeter radiator, because there's screw holes for it. Additionally, has a mounting stand with 14 magnets. It looks like it's pretty okay. The question I had that I needed answered was, is this just gonna run software through IQ? Is this just like another implementation of them locking things down? And the answer is no. They have a USB-C alternate mode, HDMI. You can just use it as an actual monitor, and they're just baking it into their ecosystem, which I thoroughly enjoy. And I absolutely loved what Thermaltake was doing at CES this year with the new colors that they have. I dropped in for half a second, said hi to Kyle from Bitwit, said hi to Thermaltake Mike, said he watches Hot News. Hey Mike, thanks for watching. But I just want to go over the colors that they have for their tower lineup of cases. I'm so enamored with what Thermaltake's trying to do with their design philosophy. They have these kind of like seasonal refreshes that they're doing with colors. We saw this at Computex. They had like a sandstone that they launched, as well as like a bubblegum pink, which had a pink exterior, a blue interior, and they're just kind of trialing different colors. And I loved everything that they showed off this year. So you can see here with the Tower 600s, which are their ATX octagonal designs, they have two new colors in the middle. The one on the left is known as light ear green. It's very vibrant green with a white interior, and the one on the right is the one I'm going to buy. I want this case so bad. Seeing this in person just absolutely rend my heart in a way that I haven't had with PC cases in a long time. Future Dusk. That purple color that I got to see in person, just absolutely gorgeous. They also additionally announced mint strawberry. You see the blue with the pink interior, but then also butter caramel with that brown sandstone interior and the yellow exterior. And all of that, just, I love celebrating when PC tech companies try to step out of the boundaries of black and white and gray and just trying to stick to the corporate approved colors. And instead they're doing something audacious, something that has personality and pizzazz. They're going the opposite direction of Dell, who decides to slim everything down and become more like Apple. No, Thermaltake is establishing a brand identity with the shape of their cases, with the colors that they're coming out with, and celebration. I like it, Thermaltake. Keep going. Thermaltake Mike did ask any color recommendations. My personal one that I said was like a creamsicle, like an orange creamsicle, a soft orange on the outside, a white interior. Could look really good. If you have any color suggestions for Thermaltake, leave them down below in the comments. Maybe they'll see them. And maybe we'll see Reece giving you the deals on how to save enough money to buy a Tower 600 in Future Dusk.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. Hope you guys are doing well this Thursday, and we're going to start today off with a bit of a request. Someone a while back asked if I had any MMO mouse recommendations, and hey, here's the EVGA X15 wired gaming mouse, which you can pick up for only $12.99. I hope that's enough of a deal for you, and if you pick it up, let me know. If you have any more requests, also drop those down below. But then moving on, we have the 8-bit Ultimate 2C wireless controller available in mint and other colorways for only $25.49, making this a phenomenal pickup for a controller of this caliber. It has Hall effect sensors, so you won't need to think about replacing it anytime soon. And then lastly today, we have the Royal Clutch RK71. This 70% wireless mechanical keyboard is going for only $35.99, making it $29 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brett for the rest of your hard news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, now we know the deal of what's going on with X3D chips. So the 9900 and 9950 X3D CPU GPUs got announced at CES, and to a lot of people's disappointments, AMD announced that they are going to have the same 3D V-cache setup as their predecessors, as well as the 9800X 3D. And in case you're not familiar with what this means, basically all of the cores on these high core count CPUs are parked on two different sides. So you have 8 cores on this side and 8 cores on this side for the 16 core chip. These 8 cores are getting the X3D V-cache. These 8 cores do not get it. And what that does is create a complication with scheduling software in Windows, where Windows can't figure out, am I supposed to prioritize these cores without the 3D V-cache, or am I supposed to prioritize these ones? And many times it requires manual intervention by the user in order to tell Windows, hey, just kill these cores while I'm gaming because I don't want to use these. I want to use the 3D V-cache cores, shut these up, don't use it. That's something that's happened, but a lot of people wanted AMD to put 3D V-cache on all of it, saying, hey, here you go. So some speculation when AMD said that they weren't going to be doing that this generation was that they couldn't. There might be a technical reason. And in an interview with Hardware Lux, AMD confirmed that it's not a technical limitation. They, in fact, can do it. It's really no technical reason or challenge to it, but rather it's a financial one. It's simply too expensive, and games would not benefit from a second CCD with 3D V-cache to the same extent as they would from the step from 32 to 96 megabytes of L3 cache for one CCD. So that's AMD's official response, just that's going to cost too dang much. People won't buy that chip, which I could partially understand this argument. I definitely get that, but regardless of whether or not it improves the gaming performance of the games, it actually improves the quality of life of the users for not having to deal with things like core parking and addressing all of that. And I know that there's plenty of examples out on the internet on how you can fix it, but the point is you have to fix it. It's not something that AMD and Microsoft have worked out the kinks with Windows software. So that's what's going to be happening. And potentially AMD's GPUs, despite the fact that they didn't give us a release date or pricing or performance numbers for their RX 9070 series of GPUs, other people are doing it for them. So B&H accidentally listing that the RX 9070 series of GPUs could potentially be launching 9 a.m. Eastern on Thursday, January 23rd. So 2 weeks from today. That is potentially the release date, or it could have just been a placeholder date that they put there and accidentally published. Obviously, AMD has not confirmed that as of the time of recording, so it can't be substantiated whether or not that's true. We have seen retailers accidentally flub this up and it being confirmed. We've also had retailers flub this up and it's nonsense. It was just a placeholder timeline that never ended up coming to fruition. But in case you're thinking about buying these GPUs, you might want to know a little bit about how they're going to look and perform. And so we got a few details on certain variants of the 9070 series. ASRock's Tai Chi edition has been confirmed that it is going to have the 16-pin power connector that people know and love and absolutely are not scared of and melting and all of that kind of stuff. But other companies such as Asus with their tough version of the 9070 series are going to have 3 8-pin power connectors. So it looks like most companies, at least based on what I've seen from everybody who's releasing these cards, 8-pin power connectors is the way that they're going. ASRock appears to have some sort of affinity towards the 16-pin power connector. They put it on the 7900 Creator series, so this is not the first time they're doing it, and it looks like they're continuing some of that into this generation. But I mentioned that some people are reporting stuff that AMD didn't want us to know, and that includes IGN benchmarking the RX 9070, the non-XT version. So this is not the highest end one. There's still a step above it, but there was a system at CES that had Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on it. They had a 9070, and they just ran the benchmark on Black Ops 6, and they noted all of the different settings that they had it at. They had it at 4K Extreme, no FSR, and the 9070 was able to average 99 FPS, which, let's put that into context for you because you don't know if that's impressive or not. And based on just some rough math of how we know other cards perform, that puts this card in line with a 4080 Super. And according to other testing, it looks like it's about 20% faster than the 7900 XTX, the current fastest card in AMD's lineup. So that is significantly faster than any benchmark that we've seen before. The 9070 absolutely slapping in Black Ops 6, equaling a 4080 Super, beating out the 7900 XTX by certain measures. But big asterisk, there's some caveats that we have to put on those numbers, is that number one, Black Ops 6 appears to be in very AMD favoring title. So the 9070 performing the same as a 4080 Super is happening in this game, but that could potentially mean that it does not live up to that performance parity in other games. It could drop down to a 4070 Ti, which is kind of where AMD indicated the 9070 should be. They said it should be around that 7800 XT, 7900 GRE level. So this is defying what AMD even said themselves. Additionally, there is some skepticism thrown on IGN's benchmarking methodology. It's not quite clear if when they changed the settings, they rebooted the game and allowed all of those settings to take place, so the 99 FPS might not necessarily be at the 4K extreme settings. It could potentially be at the previous settings. At least some of them didn't take because the game needed to be restarted. So there are some caveats on that. It could mean that AMD is cooked. It could mean that AMD is cooking. Who knows? Who knows at this point? We surely don't. And that's just going to be the adventure that we go on over the next few weeks, trying to parse what is AMD doing with their GPUs, because they refused to tell us. They were too scared to let us know at CES. They say that they ran out of time, but they could have at least shown performance numbers in some slides, at least after the fact, and they did not. So we'll wait and see what's happening. This is a good benchmark, but it's potentially flawed in some ways, and I just want to let you know all of that. While you guys let me know things in the comments on yesterday's episode of Hot News. So we got Ricardo saying RTX 7090 will introduce DLSS 7, which will render just the first frame, and the rest of the playthrough will be AI generated. And Maddie, which I saw a lot of these jokes, saying surely Nvidia can accept my $500 for the 5090 and interpolate the remaining $1,500. But just kind of an interesting note. Jensen did give an interview at CES with certain people, and he seems to indicate that Tensor cores shouldn't ever be the only thing that's ever rendering gameplay. There still needs to be that rasterization element. So it's just the joke's funny. I get it. Jensen, at least right now, doesn't see a future where it's all AI. And then Alex Whatever is saying 50 plus milliseconds of latency is noticeable, which I would agree with you, but I think maybe I didn't communicate what the latency was indicating in Digital Foundry's video. That is not 50 milliseconds of added latency, because Digital Foundry couldn't communicate what the added latency was, because that would then allow you to derivate what the frame rate was. They weren't allowed to do that. Instead, what they were showing you was total system latency, I believe was the number. So the base level is already high, right? Like, we don't know the exact percentage because that would give us too much information, but your system already has dozens of milliseconds of latency baked in regardless of what the frame time latency was. So that wasn't saying that there's 50 milliseconds of frame time latency. If that was the case, this would be slow as heck. But that is not what it is. Instead, what we saw was that there was a 12% increase in latency for a 90% increase in frame rate. That is what we saw, right? 50 milliseconds of added latency would be another level of things, but that's not what we saw. We saw, I think it was 8 milliseconds of added latency, which is much more in line with what can be tolerable in terms of perception in various different games. Maybe not fast twitch shooters where you're trying to drop it as much as possible, but in games where you're trying to get the prettiest look, you want the ray tracing turned on, and you're willing to accept a little bit of latency add in order to just get everything. It's all kind of nebulous right now, but I think maybe I didn't communicate that effectively in yesterday's episode of Hot News. But then we got Kleb saying, okay, but I use my GPU for Blender animations. That means I don't use DLSS, but I do use ray tracing, making the 30 to 40% faster number accurate for me. I'll keep my 3080 for a while though. That's exactly it. Know your use case, know what you're comfortable with. If your current system is still playing all the things and doing all the things that you want it to do in an effective manner, you don't need to upgrade. You don't need to be part of this cultural push to have you consume the next graphics card. Jensen's $9,000 lizard skin jacket doesn't need to force you into upgrading every cycle, every 2, 3, 4 cycles. You can hold on as long as you're happy. That's the right way to do it. And then Nahal saying, the intro keeps reminding me that it's 2025. You're welcome. I have to remind myself every single time I say it. I said 2024 for so many months. And then we got Einstein saying, the biggest improvement are the AI tops counts. This is exactly what I expected. These new cards are for students and professionals, not gamers. Multiple problems with that statement. Number one, they are for gamers. They are gaming cards. They're RTX cards. They're not Quadro cards. Those are the ones for professionals. Those will be coming out separately. So there's a professional segmentation. These are the GeForce cards. These are for gamers. There's that prosumer card of the RTX 5090, but these are for gamers, regardless of what everybody else wants to say. But the biggest improvement are the AI tops counts. We have to also kind of delineate the marketing nonsense that was going on with the slides of what they showed for the 50 series, because one of the things when it comes to AI tops count is that there's tomfoolery that can happen because your tops is different based on the measurement that you use. So this is based off my memory. It might not be 100% accurate, but I know the sentiment is right. With the RTX 50 series, what they are showing, what the slide showed on the screen, the 3300 tops for the 5090, that is FP4 performance. With the 4090, the tops that they quoted was FP8 performance. So even though the AI tops, the 1300 tops on the 4090 is less than the 3300 tops on the 5090, they're not measuring the same activity. So the tops are actually variable when it comes to that. And so you can understand where the tops are, and the 5090 is better. The 5090 is better than the 4090 when it comes to AI as far as raw specs go, and it's better at gaming according to raw specs, right? That exists. However, NVIDIA is using differing measuring sticks in order to communicate like the message they're trying to get across, rather than trying to give you apples to apples comparison. They even had that chart which showed like it's shooting up to the moon, like it's 1,000,000 times faster in AI with the Blackwell cards, and that's because they went from, I think it was int 8 to FP8 to FP4, and so they changed the unit of measurement on the chart and then just kept calculating the number. It's ridiculous marketing at that point. And then Abimanyu saying, I love how Brett is one of the only tech reviewers who appreciates engineering challenges and doesn't bash companies for not creating new products with insane performance improvements. I always thought it's pretty insane how companies keep getting some improvements every generation, every 2 years, since it's not a given. I definitely don't want to take the credit that I'm one of the only. There's plenty of other positive tech reviewers out there. I got to spend dinner with many of them at CES. It was lovely just hanging out with a crowd of people who are like-minded. That a lot of this is like, there's an element of respect and levity, I think, missing from the PC gaming community right now, and I want to strive for that. It's not my natural inclination. I have the natural cynicism that I think is on display right now, and I just want to fight that. I'm not the only one doing it. I'm not even the best at it. Like I'm trying to communicate this publicly and out loud because it's a standard that I'm also trying to hold myself to. And so I want us to go on this journey together. And there's been times where I was rightly called out in hot news for being too negative against certain things because I'm not seeing the forest for the trees, and I'm getting so insulated and myopic when it comes to the things I want and I desire that I forget the total scope of everything that's happening. And I need to get outside of my worldview from time to time to make sure that I take in the totality of just how wonderful all of this is. Like, we can talk about fake frames and AI frames and all that kind of stuff. Like, gaming's great. Gaming is good right now. We get to enjoy beautiful video games on great hardware. Like, even go back to your childhood, and we are just so much further advanced when it comes to what we get to enjoy as a society. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be here. I love things like the Steam Deck, making it more accessible for gaming at the go. You have things like Falcon Northwest. You can see the progress of freaking technology over the lifespan of their company, and it's beautiful. It's good, and I want to celebrate it. I don't want to celebrate bad marketing, because that's a choice that they're making, that they could make the choice to do more clear-cut direct marketing, and they're not. And I think we can, yeah, there's ways to parse it. Nuance is important, but playing video games, man, we're having fun. We're learning new skills. We're enjoying playing with our friends. We're enjoying stories. We're appreciating visuals. We're like, this is a hobby. This is a fun hobby. For some people, it's their livelihood, and it's also fun, right? Like, let's not lose sight of that. That's really what I want, and I have to keep telling that to myself. So I'll see you back here for more of the hottest tech news tomorrow.